Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I got Johnny Madrid here with me. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing amazing. Good to see you, Cedric. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What you been up to these days? What's going on with you?
Oh, let's see. Staying in my room quite a bit. We're through this pandemic. Doing work 9 to 5 as a financial analyst. Just finished a meditation program with Deepak Chopra, 22 days of renewal, and just had a picnic on Sunday. So, wow. All the things.
You said meditation with Deepak Chopra. What was that like?
It's amazing. It's a way. When I was in college, I took some time off to go live with a bunch of monks for about 4 or 5 months, and I really got into meditation then. And it's a practice that kind of has continued, and Deepak has brought me back into it. And so it's basically 22 days where you get an audio, you meditate with Deepak Chopra leading you into it, and it gets you into a mantra. And there's something really powerful about finding time in the day to feel peace.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I want you to, now that we got a little bit of a glimpse of where you are today, I want you to take us back to the beginning and tell us, where are you from?
I'm from LA. I grew up in LA.
Oh,
I live in yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And how long were you guys living in LA?
My first 18 years of my life.
And
okay. Yeah.
What was that like?
It was fun. It was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I just like you, I grew up in foster care. I grew up in East LA with a big family, immigrant family. And, my mom passed away when I was 11, and my biological dad died when I was much younger. And so I found myself moving around all over LA through the foster care system.
Where are your parents from?
My biological parents are from Honduras.
Okay. So from Honduras. Wow. Did you get to learn any of the Honduran culture before your parents passed away?
That's a good question. I'd say Spanish was my first language, and then English took over, and now I'm far more fluent in English than Spanish. Having said that, I don't think I identify too much as Honduran. I'm kind of just Latino. I speak Spanish. I'm in the culture, but I don't have a lot of Honduran specificity to me.
Okay, for sure. All right. So how old were you when you went into foster care?
I entered the system when I was 11. Or really 13. I first bounced around like a pastor's home, some people from the church, friends, and then officially I think I entered the foster care system when I was 13.
Okay. You have brothers and sisters?
10.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got 10 biological brothers and sisters?
Yes, not all from the same mom or dad. Some bulk from my mom, some from my dad. I didn't even know I had siblings from my dad's side until I got older.
That's incredible. Now, what's that feel like, having 10 siblings? How does that feel?
It's enormous. It's there's so much beauty in my family. We've gone through so much together. Not all of my siblings are with me, and so we've learned a lot coming through this life. We've all gone through some incredible hurdles, and it's just amazing to see my siblings blossom, and that's what they're doing. Yeah,
without a doubt. Now, where do you fall within that 10? Are you the oldest, middle child, the youngest?
Well, you know the best part of the Oreo cookie, right, Cedric?
I know you're going to say it's the middle, right?
That's right. Or you disagree?
Yeah, I always take the middle, put it to the side, and just eat the crackers by themselves.
Aha. Well, where were you in your sibling set?
I'm the oldest.
Aha. Well, it all makes sense.
Yeah, it all makes sense, right? Yeah. I like the beginning, you like the middle. I got you. I want to understand what it was like a day in the life for you growing up in East LA. And when you make the distinction between East LA and other parts, what is it that's unique about East LA?
Well, it was immigrant, low income, and there was I was on the streets a lot. There's a lot of survival in my neighborhood. A
Mm.
lot of violence. My cousin reminded me the other day that I used to carry chains around in my pocket because there's a lot of street fights that went down. Like I got into a remarkable amount of fights on the streets in my neighborhood.
You said that you were walking around with chains.
Yeah, like chains in my stuffed in my pocket so I could pull it out as a weapon if I ever needed.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a phrase out there, hard knock life. That was you.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a journey. It was a journey. Like it's definitely something. A lot of things that I saw. I saw a lot of violence with my brothers, and I broke into my neighbor's house.
Yeah.
When I was like 5 years old, my brother broke the window of my neighbor's house and snuck me in, and we robbed my neighbors.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was a lot of survival state going on there.
Yeah. Where was your father when these sorts of things were taking place?
My biological father had passed away when I was like 2 or 3.
Okay.
He was killed in the street somewhere in Honduras.
Okay.
I did have a stepdad, and he was present. He was working all the time. My mother was working all the time, and that was the thing. They were working all the time.
Right. So y'all were outside.
Yeah, just doing our thing. Yeah, trying to find community.
Yeah. Now, incidentally, were there a whole bunch of other kids outside too with y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were street rats.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to,
street rats, huh?
yeah, I used to jump fences, go play arcades, shoplift together.
Yeah.
All kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah. How many of you were there? Not just your siblings. I'm talking about neighborhood kids who might have not went to school when you were in elementary.
Who didn't go to school?
Yeah, like they might have didn't make it to school, so they got turned around just outside during school hours.
Maybe like I don't know, 10 kids in the neighborhood that we hung out with in that period of my life.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that was from age 0 through 11 when I was in that part of the neighborhood. After that, I bounced around quite a bit throughout LA.
So would you say that first 11 years made you street smart?
I would say that it made me aware of survival on a level that others may not appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Now, explain what you mean by that.
I mean, when I was in elementary school, I used to walk to school every day, and there was this kid, this bigger guy, who used to tell me, "Give me your money." So I gave him whatever coins I had in my pocket, and I don't remember, like, I don't know if it was fear that did that or just like I knew to instinctively do it. And there was one time when I didn't have any money, and I said, "I don't have any money," and he's like, "Oh," and I said, "But I have food at my house." And so I invited him back to my house where my sister fed him beans and rice. And he was super nice to me after that.
Yeah.
And so like it's interesting that like I had this image of this kid as this kid who bullied or like took my money, scared me into giving me my money. And in the end, I'm sure he came from a very poor family that where he wasn't fed.
Right. Yeah, he had needs as well. You found out about them.
Yeah.
I believe that the foundational years of your life, those being from 0 to 10 years old, they pretty much set the tone in terms of character for who you're going to be when you get older. And definitely some things will be added on. Your perspective might change. You'll obviously mature a lot. But there's some things that just can't be taught. Things like grit, high levels of resiliency. There's also another term out there called common sense. It means different things to different people. And when you grow up outside the way that you were growing up, I think that you obtain a lot of all those different factors.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. It's just kind of so nostalgic. I feel like I lived 10 lives when I was a child. So like that's like one certain stage. And I remember a lot of joy because I was just so, that's just the way it was.
Always having fun, right?
Yeah.
What was school like for you during these times?
Well, at that stage, the first 11 years, it was pretty easy. Just, mostly I walked to school, and smooth for the most part. what made what made my life as a young person interesting is my brothers, who
Mhm.
my older brothers were getting into a lot of trouble,
Mhm.
in and out of jail, and um, and so I just remember feeling like when I was younger that I wanted to be different,
Yeah.
and yeah, that I wanted to be special.
When did you start making choices that would create enough space for you to do something different from your brothers?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was after my mother passed away. She got
Okay.
into a car accident,
Mhm.
and the pastor, I was a little fundamentalist at the time, little fundamentalist Baptist. I was like, everybody's going to hell unless you come to Jesus. And it was the church that we are attending. The pastor, after my mother passed away, offered to have me live in his home with him and his twin boys. And it was kind of a dream come true for me. I was like, wow, I was kind of a role model 11-year-old churchgoer at the time. Like I had read the whole King James Bible,
At
and
11.
yeah. I mean, we were knocking on door to proselytize,
Okay.
and they would have me proselytize on my own because I was just that good at convincing people to put their name on my list.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think that moving in with that pastor and wanting to impress him, I wanted him to consider me one of his real sons, was that first point where I bridged the gap, like where I started just getting straight A's, like in the middle school that I went to, I just started pulling them together. I'd say that like reading at a young age really helped a lot. Like there was like this Encyclopedia Britannica in the closet that I'd pull down and just read, and I think reading really helped when I was super young.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
When that pastor decided to take you in, you felt like, boom, this is another start for me.
yeah. It did. It was kind of a dream come true. Here I was like living in the ideal American family, this German pastor with a Guatemalan wife with his two twin boys, just a little
Yeah.
bit younger than me,
Out
living
of
in this
nowhere.
wonderful. Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
What do you mean out of nowhere?
Like, I mean, you weren't living in that sort of
Yeah.
environment, and
Oh
then out
yeah.
of nowhere you were.
Yeah, I was living in a home where, like, sometimes there was hunger. I mean, there's love, but sometimes we ate tortillas and milk. And then suddenly I was in like this American dream, lovely big house in Sunland in LA. Yeah, Shadow Hills.
Yeah. Now, what happened with your other siblings while you lived with the pastor?
Yeah. Um, well, my brother and I went to go live with the pastor. My near brother went to go live with a family in the church. I kind of discovered that my stepdad at the time wasn't my real dad. So that kind of led to that. Um, my younger siblings continued to live with my stepdad, and he raised them. And yeah, we just kind of all went our different ways.
How did it? I mean, did you give any thought or emotional attention to you all being split up?
Yeah, yeah, I remember. I mean, I had a lot of mixed feelings, like
Yeah.
because it's almost like before my mom died, I remember wishing that my parents would die so that I could live with
Whoa.
this pastor. Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Mhm. So I was racked with guilt after that,
Hmm.
and so it's almost like I had a dream come true, and yet I had siblings who were living in a different place.
Hmm.
Um, there was a good period. I don't know if they'd remember this, but for a number of holidays, I would save up money and I would buy everybody Christmas presents so that I could give it to them, where they were living in Lancaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it that made you wish that your parents weren't around anymore?
Yeah, it was. I think it was living in poverty, living in kind of the streets, and then seeing what life was like when you become a Christian and what this pastor's life was like. I just thought it was a dream come true. It's kind of crazy that I had that vision or that desire,
Hmm.
and it happened. And you know, I'm sorry. What your question was? What was life was like?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to know, what was going on that made you wonder, what life would be like without your parents, and you answered that question. But now I'm thinking, were there any other biological family members around? Do you have aunts, uncles around that were looking for you all?
I did have some like cousins and aunts that were in the circle. I just I don't. it didn't work out for me to go live with them, and part of
Yeah.
it was that I don't know if they were in a state of being to take care of me. Really,
Hmm.
I might have I might have done things in my life much earlier than I actually did. Um, there was what I call compulsive self-comforting going on in those families, and I don't know if
What's
it was.
uh, what's that? Talk to us. Explain what that is. Compulsive self-comforting.
That's my word for some people call it addiction. I call it compulsive self-comforting. I think we all in our society we all have something that comforts us that we compulsively do, and
Hmm.
some things more than others. And sometimes that involves drugs, and sometimes
Hmm.
those drugs are much harder than others.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I had family and I loved them very much. I don't think that was really an option for me at the time.
Right. 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 So, when you went to live with the pastor, you became content to change your life and to really start giving effort, in a way that you had never done before. But at some point along the journey, you had to move out of the pastor's house. So what happened next?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was a powerful experience. I thought I wasn't a born again Christian, and that's the whole thing in the church. You're either born again or you're not. And if you're born again, then you know you're born again. If you're not born again, then you're not born again. And I was like, I questioned whether I was born again.
Why?
Um, just doubts as a young person, thinking like maybe my thoughts I'm having bad thoughts, and I shouldn't have bad thoughts because I'm a kid, so that must
Yeah,
mean I'm still a sinner
yeah,
and a lost soul.
yeah.
Um, and there was some conflict too. Like he told me that I was teaching his sons my Mexican ways, even though I'm not Mexican 100, but it's all an amalgamation. And
Right.
so it's really traumatic for me. He said I'm going to go visit my family for the holidays, and I'm taking all my stuff with me, but I never got invited back. And
Mm,
so I went to go live with my family in Lancaster, and you know eventually I lived there with my brother. He had just come out of jail. I stayed with him. We had a little bit of drama go down between us, some fighting. And then I went to go live with another family of that same church. Yeah. And and yeah, and that also, they also, that relationship also broke down at some point. I'm not clear how come. I
yeah,
just, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it. Do you think that the church was ultimately having a positive impact on you and your family, or do you think that it was a little bit beyond your understanding for that period of time in your life?
Well, I think it had a very positive impact on my life. I
Okay.
mean, in the bigger scheme of things, like I question the model. At the same
Yeah.
time, there's something about feeling like there's this moment where you came to Jesus and now you're made new, and as long as you're abiding by the church rules, there's fundamentals, so a lot of rules.
Hmm.
You're a good human, and I
Hmm.
think I desperately wanted to feel like I was a good human.
Hmm. So what did all of this education and experience translate into for you by the time you got to high school?
Education and experience. Well, I got a scholarship to go to a private high school. At that point, I had lived, I had lived in a number of homes at that point. By the time I went to high school, I was in like my 10th home or something.
Really?
Hmm.
C-
Yeah.
And before we even get to that, when did y'all get put in foster care, and what was that first night like?
Mm. It was, I was just living with a teacher, and she informed me that, they told me that they didn't want me to live with them anymore. Um, they said that they were about to have a children, and they were going to have a kid of their own. They were conflicted about having me there. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
really know what it was that scared them from me.
yeah.
And so that's when a social worker officially got involved in my life. And then they placed me with Dorothy, foster mom in part of LA, like Coima area of LA, the San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
And that was a shock, to be honest. Like all these points, I had been living with homes that had invited me to live with them because they liked me as a kid. There was this little fundamentalist Christian that was, book smart or getting A's at least.
Mhm.
And then I lived in my first foster home, and it was a culture shock because it
Yeah,
was like more like it's kind of like I was living in like antebellum South with like dirt coming out of the floors, and like we ate top ramen a lot,
yeah.
and we had to do a lot of chores. Kind of felt like labor, free labor.
Right.
And so
Free labor.
yeah, yeah. And that was the
Wow.
first time I experienced. I was like, wow, I thought there was all these beautiful homes available for kids like me to live in. And I
Right.
realized that, there's another world out there of people that are in the system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well said, rude awakening. Yeah.
Yeah. Rude awakening, because it's like, you know, everything was kind of understood. You understood where you were going. You were invited. It was a nice, comfortable environment. But then it's like, boom, now you're in the system. Now you see what other young people out there are seeing. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, it must have really opened your eyes to, like you said, another side of life. It's like, oh, I'm in a system where I could be living here eating top ramen and, the house falling apart.
Yeah.
So what
Um,
do I do with myself? What do I do with my life? Is that what you started thinking?
yeah, I would say that around. I mean, there's a narrative that we all develop, right, as kids, and I think one of the narratives that I developed around then is I'm alone.
Mm.
And I started feeling, that's when I remember my first episodes of chest pains, when I would feel alone, lonely, and scared, really.
You have a
And
powerful mind. You got a powerful mind. Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate
yeah,
you saying that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
As do you, my friend.
You were you always sort of intelligent? Was that one of like your characteristics you were born with?
Ooh, that's it. I don't know if I would say that. I would say that I got blessed to be reading at a young age. And I remember a social worker once told me that I was very emotionally aware. And as I got older and I thought about that, I think that a lot of the turbulence around my childhood gave me the gift of what some might call hypervigilance, hyper awareness.
Okay,
Like when my survival was based, or my success and survival was based on whether people liked me or not, I became hyper aware of how people felt about me.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you developed the ability to read people, to read the room, and read your environment
totally. Yeah,
as a means of survival.
yeah, yeah.
Very interesting. So now, fast forward, and your mind is strong enough to cause you to have heart pains if your thoughts aren't positive.
Yes. Yeah. Pains in my chest.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm feeling it even now, just talking about it. Like I can feel
Mhm.
that pain coming back to me.
Yeah.
It's
You remember.
yeah.
Remember. Did you have counselors or anything like that at this time?
Yeah, I had, that's the gift of my childhood. It's like I may not have had one parent the entire time, but I did have angels step into my life. People that
Yeah.
swooped in at the right time in the right place and helped me with the things I needed. I was
Right.
in a cadet program. My cadet sergeants in the middle school were great. My middle school principal, who I lived with for a period, um, thought I was special, and I was getting A's then, and she's the one who helped me get a scholarship to Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks.
Hmm.
And that was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And my classmates were, from very awesome families.
Did you know how big of a deal it was when you got into Notre Dame High School?
Yeah, certainly did. It was like, there's a lot of celebrity kids that went there. Rami Malek was my classmate. That guy who won that Oscar for, what you call it, one of those movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I had a
Wow.
lot of, so I definitely felt it, and I definitely knew it was a school that had a lot of people go to great schools after that.
Hmm.
And so it was awesome because like I basically took an algebra class as a test to see whether I would get the scholarship to the school or not one summer. And when I got the A, that's what got me the scholarship into the school.
Wow. Incredible. When did you start doing algebra, and who was responsible for making you proficient in algebra?
Mm. Well, I think that I had a great teacher,
Yep.
and I think it was just being in that situation where people believed in me. Cecilia Costas, the principal of my middle school, who got me that algebra test, was a big deal.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, I remember one time I was in the nurse's office in middle school, and this was in Pacoima, so this was very different from Notre Dame. This was like, if you look at the police map where they map out crimes based on darkness, it was like black here.
Yeah.
and,
Okay.
and one time, and I'm in a cadet program as a young person where I get a lot of like meaning and identity. And I'm
Hmm.
in the office at the nurse's office. I forgot why, but the sergeant, an adult teacher who also happens to take on the role of being this um, cadet corps leader,
Hmm.
says, "This is Johnny Madrid. He's going to Harvard." And the nurse was like, "Oh," and I was like, What's Harvard? What is Harvard? Yeah,
Right.
but I knew I felt good that he thought I was going to Harvard.
Right, because of the way he said it.
Yeah. And so I actually researched it. Yeah.
Yeah. I want you to take a couple seconds, a few seconds, if you will, and provide some encouragement to young people who are right here in America. They might be first generation immigrants. They might have, be second, third generation immigrants, or they might just be young people who need to hear from you. Can you provide some inspiration to them?
Yeah. There's levels to this. The most important thing is choosing to believe in a future that works for you, that you want. That's the most powerful thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that I was blessed to have people believe in me, and then I took on that identity of believing that something out there was exciting and going to happen for me. And if I kept working hard, if I kept studying, that good things are going to happen.
That's
and
right.
Right after that incident in the nurse's office, I bought a book, A's for Admission into Ivy League schools. So in middle school, I read this book about what it would take to get into Harvard.
Right.
And my email became jmforharvard@hotmail.com.
Right.
And so the most important thing is to be in action, right? Like often in states where things feel bleak, the biggest challenge is to be in paralysis and to be in inaction. To just to be depressed and to not take action and to do whatever, to comfort, to cover, whatever.
Right.
It's important to know what you want.
Yeah.
And what I wanted was, I remember I wanted to be a lawyer because I thought a lawyer that went to Harvard would be special. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just something that makes you excited.
Mm-hmm.
And then itty bitty steps moving in that direction.
What would you say?
The universe will conspire.
Okay. What would you say?
Our minds are like magnets. Whatever we think of, our minds are like magnets.
That's right.
Whatever thoughts that we allow into our brains are what we're going to accomplish and do. Literally, who I am right now is like, if you took all the thoughts I've ever had in my life, it's basically, you put it into a box and that's who I am.
That's right.
So to your question, I would say that cultivate thoughts that are empowering and be aware when they're not empowering. That's okay. I had like 20 disempowering thoughts just this morning. Yeah. It's the ones that stay with you that are the access to where you're going to transform, like the transformation that's important. And it's choosing to be excited about something that you want that'll move you forward. That's what it did for me.
Huge, absolutely huge. You have a certain zen about you that goes along with your personality and your charisma. But you're dropping some bombs today. Hey, listen, you're dropping some bombs today, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on the platform of America's Next Motivator, where I'd like for you to invite other people to be a part of the conversation and to learn Johnny Madrid's story with me. I'm going to give you a little minute to do that, and we'll be right back after a brief message. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back.
All right.
Johnny, how you feeling out there?
Feeling amazing. Thank you. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you, Cedric, for choosing me to be on America's Next Motivator. It's a beautiful thing what you're doing, because what is motivation? Motivation is getting people to take action.
That's right. Yeah, I appreciate that. Before we went to the break, you started honing in on something that I personally believe in big time, and that's brain power. It's mind power, and you started talking about how you need to be able to get rid of negative thoughts, and you need to pay attention to the types of thoughts that linger in your mind. And you said that the thoughts that linger in your mind are the pathways to what you're becoming.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want you to get back in that vein, and I want you to pick up where you left off.
Yeah. There's two aspects to this. Like for me, there's a lot of things that occurred in my childhood that created behaviors as an adult that I'm not proud of, and there are thoughts that well, there's two aspects. There's like when a disempowering thought comes in, like I'm not lovable, or I'm alone, or one that has recently that like I recently got present to that like it's been sneaking up on me is I'm not gonna make it. Right? Those thoughts come up, and I think that fighting them is not the path to winning. Right? There's healing that is important. We're all on a journey towards love. That's what this is all about, right? That's why you're showing me this love. That's why you're showing this love to the people in this community.
That's right.
And everything that blocks us from loving ourselves, that's why we were brought on this earth to be here for. We were brought on this earth to learn how to dissolve those blocks so that we can fully love ourselves. And by fully loving ourselves, we can love others.
Yep.
And so, for me, like if a disempowering thought comes, fighting it and trying to pretend like it's not there is not necessarily the solution. Acknowledging it, and sometimes unconcealing that it's there is a powerful thing. Acknowledging that that's there. Like for me, coming up with this "I'm not going to make it" thought that hit me, and the next thing that's powerful about that is when you acknowledge it and you're fully aware with it, you can let it disappear. There was when I was a young person,
Hold on. I want you to hold that thought, but ladies and gentlemen, y'all have to hear what this man is saying. He said, when you have a disempowering thought and you fully acknowledge it, you can make it disappear. Keep going.
There's things I remember I attended a spiritual retreat, and I realized that I was telling myself stories about who I am because of some of the things I did as a child and some of the experiences I had. And I realized that I was telling myself, I didn't know that I was telling myself this until I thought about it, until I reflected on it and meditated. I was telling myself that I'm disgusting, I'm irreconcilable, and
wow.
that, yeah.
You know what?
I cried a lot when I realized that that's what was present for me.
Yeah. You know, wow. What you're saying is really resonating with me because I fight negative thoughts about myself, and I help other people fight negative thoughts off about themselves, and I consider myself a warrior when it comes to that. Yeah. And I think that the things that you go through as a young person, the trauma, so many of the things that happen that were not savory, were not healthy. They make you become abusive towards yourself.
Yes.
And so, as an adult, without you realizing it, you end up in an abusive relationship with none other than yourself. And so,
and often with people in our world that will abuse us because that's what we invite.
Yeah. And people, people have a nose for people who abuse themselves, and they say, "Oh, I get it. I can abuse you. I can take advantage of you. I can do you wrong." And that is what makes some of us very vulnerable in society. And so what I'm getting out of this conversation and what makes this a victorious moment is that we have to say it plain. When you have a traumatic experience, it can equip you and compel you to be in an abusive relationship with yourself. And,
Yes.
and the way to make that relationship correct between yourself and your consciousness is love, learning how to love. Go pick up a book about love.
Just being
Go
with it.
go
Yeah.
ask somebody who knows better than you how to love yourself. Ask yourself. Yourself been telling yourself all these ridiculous things. Ask yourself, how do you love yourself? Ask yourself, how do I love myself?
That's right. Just by asking, you create the thought, and the thought will keep attracting more energy that will give you the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man.
And so what we need to do in order to balance out the traumas and the disparaging things that happen in our lives is we need to figure out how to love ourselves. We need to become masters of love.
Yes. Yes, man.
It's not enough to just become successful and to just look good on the outside, but be continuing to sabotage yourself on the inside. We got to stop doing that because the whole community is waiting on Johnny Madrid to get out of an abusive relationship with himself and get into a healthy, helpful, loving relationship with himself so that as somebody said it before today's episode, Johnny Madrid can become the next world leader.
Thank you. Yeah.
Somebody said that you were the next world leader earlier today. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, they said, oh, you're going to have Johnny Madrid on your show. He's the next world leader. So we all need the disparaging thoughts to leave Johnny Madrid because there are those of us who believe that Johnny Madrid is one of the world's next leaders. What did you decide to do when you transitioned to Stanford University?
Well, I initially thought I was going to go to Stanford to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And over time, I decided that my friend came back from Morgan Stanley, all excited about Google's IPO back then.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
What was Google's IPO?
It was the initial public offering of Google when they decided to sell their company public.
I know. How much was it?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. It's way back. Yeah. And he got me excited about that world of being in finance. And so I took like 3 internships on. Like I had mostly a nonprofit background. My college experience, I did a lot of advocacy around foster care, foster youth bill of rights, healthcare. I earned a Truman Scholarship for that work. And I thought I was going to be a social worker, or try to be an agency director of a foster care agency, because my dream is to bring our society to a place where we can bring love to forgotten children.
Wow.
I'd love to be responsible for a wave of people becoming foster parents, and for our society to realize that another person's child is my child.
That's right.
And and I think that I decided that because of a lot of pain that I remember feeling around the advocacy, I wanted to try my hat at being successful in something else. Mm-hmm. And so through those internships and through the blessings of good friends that I had that helped me and guided me, I got an internship at Goldman Sachs. And when I finished Stanford, I got a job at Goldman Sachs, which was great training ground for me and a career in finance, which I took on for a decade.
Wow. Okay. What sorts of things did you learn in finance? Was it an interesting world out there?
Yeah. Well, the numbers drive everything, right? There's always numbers behind everything. Mm-hmm. And I remember finding myself just really appreciating how quantitative things are, and also how non-quantitative are. We all get scared at math, but most financial models don't do anything more than add, subtract, divide, multiply, square, right? Like, that's it. And so it was amazing for me to feel great about being able to value companies, create like a valuation. How much is this company worth? How much is the stock worth? Also to get into the derivatives market, which is, type of security and asset that's in the marketplace. And it felt great. I loved it.
Can you give us any insight into how you value an organization? How do you estimate a value of an organization or business?
It's about cash flow. It's about what kind of revenue is the business generating, and then what's the P&L, the bottom profit. And the way we value companies is based on the stability of that income flow. So like most of the time we'll do a valuation out 5 years, maybe 10 years, but really 10 years is like really wish it's not like useful. And then you kind of make an assessment of how stable those revenues are, and how juicy those profits are. And the more stable, the higher the valuation. And you're also betting on which direction they're going. And that's why tech companies get such a high valuation, because you think they're going to go this way. I'm really lucky to be advising a yoga company right now, and we're hoping to get them funded. We're trying to bring the gig economy to yoga teachers online, and so there's a lot of fun we're having. We're trying to create a $10 million valuation company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think that I'm going to get abstract on you, because I really like the things that you decided to take on as expertise. Yeah. Do you think that evaluation can be done on a human being?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We all create our own value. Mm-hmm. Who we are right now is the future that we're living into. Mm-hmm. And if we're excited about that future, then it's going to create a being right now that's amazing. And so it's almost like those cash flows. It's like what you see is whatever you see that you want for yourself is your cash flow. And if you believe it and you're moving and you're taking action, moving you in that direction, that's what love is. Self-love is ultimately action, right? If you're taking itty bitty steps forward, that's self-love. And that gives you who you are now. That gives you the presence of who you are now. Mm-hmm. If I buy a ticket that's going to send me to Hawaii in next week, my energy right now is going to be amazing. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the name of this game.
Right.
The name of this game is creating those possibilities and living into it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I saw a BP commercial over 10 years ago. It changed my life. You know, I had been in foster care. I was adopted at the age of 15 years old. I had a real big experience in life. You know, big for me in my short number of years, anyway. And I was trying to figure out, how can I have a positive impact on the lives of young people growing up out of the foster care system? And I was deep in thought, and this BP commercial came on, and at the end of it, because they were trying to figure out how to get all the oil out of the water at the time, and because there was an oil spill, and they were doing it with technology. And the commercial said that technology brings hope. It's technology that brings hope. And so I said, you know what? We must figure out a way to incorporate technology in the child welfare sector if we're going to bring them hope, because, you know, people respect BP, right? So why would they say something that doesn't make any sense? 100%. I want to know, what role do you think technology can play in changing the present and the future of youth and child welfare?
I think there's two answers to that question. There's the direct answer, which is like, where our child welfare system is using antiquated, computers and systems, and we have technology now that can be quite powerful in matching people, like in assessing the needs of our children and meeting those needs. And they need resources, and that's really super important. I have a vision of us creating a Match.com. We'll get all the people who want children, who want to create love in their life, and then match them with a foster kid, because of how good this technology can be. Now that's just one side. The real side here is that there's the mental technology. Mm-hmm. There's there's the tools and the skill sets of existing in our minds that child welfare could benefit from. I've been doing some transformational work recently with this program called Landmark, and it's incredible. Like, one of the things that we're taught there is like not making things wrong, right? That's what we're always do. We all live in this box of should be. Should be is the path to resignation and sadness, right? Like, this should be this way, should be this way. This person should treat me this way, that way. And when we live in that world, like, there's no action that comes from that, right? When we stop making things wrong, stop making foster parents wrong, stop making biological parents wrong, stop making the foster youth wrong, and we live in the possibility of what's there, the love, the energy, the things that can be created. That's the world that I want to live in. Right. The world, even now, when we're protesting on the streets, right? What are we doing? We're making people wrong. And I'm not saying that actions that had a horrible impact haven't been taken by police officers and whatnot. At the same time, I know that I'm not enrolling my white friends by bagging on white supremacy and saying, white people are bad. Nobody's bad, really. Those people in the South that are voting Trump in, like, we got to open up our arms and find and look through their eyes to what's causing them to act the way they're acting, and stop making them wrong. Because when we see that what they're doing is actually right for them, then maybe we can invite them, enroll them. We can never force or demand. We invite and we enroll people to rise. And that's what I think needs to happen in the child welfare system.
Do you think that people are afraid of that level of accountability?
Tell me what you mean.
In order to understand how to make the whole situation better, you might have to go out and read a book. You might have to listen to somebody with no degree. You might have to, spend time with people you wouldn't ordinarily spend time with. I mean, you got to do things differently if you're going to understand how to make things better. Because I think a lot of people find it easier to say, "Well, that's wrong."
It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, as opposed to saying, "Here's how to make it better." And are people afraid of that accountability? I don't want to be held accountable for making things better.
Yeah.
But you can look at me all day for pointing out what's wrong.
That's right.
Is that what we're doing?
That's exactly right. When we sit in that world of like, when we sit in the world of that's wrong, what are we doing? We're not taking action. And actually what's happening is we're getting resigned. That state of resignation is inaction. And once you get into action, it's no longer a complaint, or it's no longer like a should be. It's you existing in something that's more powerful, love. Like if you're taking action for love, then that's a powerful thing. One of the things that I'm most proud of in my life is when I got to Stanford. A professor, I got so close to these people that helped me get into Stanford, and then we had a falling out. This falling out led to me drinking excessively and then taking all the pills in the medicine cabinet. Whether I wanted to kill myself or not, I don't think I had consciously was thinking I'd kill myself, but there's a part of me that could have killed myself, because I thought I had lost the love of somebody that was really important to me. And this professor kind of swooped in, her and her husband, and they showed me that like there's nothing wrong with me, that I'm amazing. They took me in and they adopted me, and they called me son. They took me shopping to Macy's, and they took care of me, and they bought me my first suit into my career. Years later, my career peaks. Like at one point, I'm ranked the second best bank analyst in the country by a consultant for the U.S. Treasury for their TARP assets. Years after that, when I go through a slump in my career, I'd call it a 5-year slump. I am not looking for work. I just had given up. I'm in relationships where there's violence and abuse towards me, and I'm in a really big depression. And as I was pulling myself out of that depression and I'm becoming aware, first of all, by being in that state, I pulled myself out. I wasn't communicating with the people I loved. I had this juvenile belief that I got from foster care, that if you love me, you're going to go out of your way for me. And here I'm and as an adult, this is the funny thing, as adults, we hold on to these views until we're aware that we're doing that.
Right.
I'm still thinking, if you love me, you go after me. No. At this point, I can be the source of energy. I can be calling those parents at Stanford and saying, and communicating and being engaged with them. And during the slump, that didn't happen. And one of the biggest things that I am proud of is that as I came out of that slump, and I'm thankful to be out of it now, I'm in a great place. I called that woman and I got to tell her that she is the hero of my life.
Yep.
And there was so much, for a while I resisted it because I thought she was kind of frazzled, and then I didn't realize that I got the gift of a Stanford professor loving me enough to want to call me her son. And she died recently, her and her husband. She died last year. He died, 7 months later. And it's the courage to realize that we're source energy, that we can inspire others, that we can create with our words, just like you have so many times in our session today. And I got to have a loving conversation with Glenn too, her husband, before he died. And there was some noise in the way because I kind of had fallen out because I got depressed and I stopped communicating. And then I cut through that noise because I gave up the need to pity myself. I gave up the need to sorry myself, because that's time. Time when I'm resting or decompressing and feeling sad for myself, that's wasted energy.
Yeah.
Instead, because we exist because of the people in our life, that's why we're here. The only reason we're here is because of the people in our life that help us accomplish the things we want and that love us.
Yep.
I gave up that need to be right, the need to feel sorry for myself, and I put myself out there to express to the people that I love them. And that's why we're here.
That's right. That's right. We're here because of one another. You know, your willingness to be transparent and to be honest is so admirable. You know, when you talk about your college years, I think that so many people can relate to possibly holding on to some juvenile beliefs that ultimately you need to overcome if you're going to become an adult. And one of the main reasons why I created this platform was so that people can see, you know, the extent to which you got to let go of some elements of what you thought were true or what you thought was the case in order for you to become an adult. The real objective is to become an adult. And what you just revealed to us, Johnny, is that, you know, through your greatest adversities, you decided to be accountable and you decided to become an adult.
I decided that it's worth it. Like that there are people in this world who need me, and that
Yeah,
it's worth it for me to step up. It's like I'm not wasting any other time, wallowing.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, no
Yeah.
wallowing. Yeah. No wallowing at
And
all.
I wanna be gentle about some language that you use because you said you need to, and I
Mhm.
find that anytime we say you need to, there's a bit of us that feels trapped because it's like you're obligated to. There's no choice there.
Mm,
And part of what I've learned is that anytime I catch myself saying I have to, I need to, then I'm taking my power away. It's I choose to. I choose
mm,
it. Yeah.
that's
And
right.
like when you earlier when you said we got to get rid of those things that stop us from loving ourselves, like it's like if we try to engage on the level of the things that stop us from loving ourselves, that block us from whatever it is, we're not going to win, right? It's important
Mm,
to acknowledge them, see them, cry about them, and what helps us win is when we transcend, when
mhm,
we choose something greater that gives us meaning. For
mhm,
me, like it's being fun, it's having energy, it's having kindness, and it's having integrity. Those
mhm,
things, it's choosing that I live into that gives me meaning now.
mhm,
I don't engage in these. I don't like try to say I shouldn't be this way. I'm not that way. Like I just acknowledge it, and then I rise to what matters for me. And in
mhm.
this case, it's loving the people in my life.
I think that is so phenomenal. And you know, for anybody watching this today, what Johnny is reminding us of and what Johnny is establishing today, respectfully, is the power of going from positive to super positive. And when you go from positive to super positive in all things and everything, then you eventually eradicate that which is bad. Now, Johnny, I got three questions for you.
Disappears. Yeah.
It disappears.
Yeah.
And that's huge. I got
Yeah.
three questions for you. We got about a minute and a half. I need you to
Yes.
answer these three questions in that minute and a half.
Yes.
The first
Yes.
one, what is survival to you?
Survival is living in a state where those narratives that are disempowering still exist in your mind, and you're putting one foot in front of the other. One
Mhm.
foot in front of the other, trucking is what survival is.
And what do you say to people who are having a hard time putting one foot in front of the other these days?
To keep your head up. I say keep your head up. That there are no accidents. That the things that you're brought here to learn, you're gonna learn them, and that you are strong enough to get through them.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is success to you?
Success is producing results that you want, right? In my case, like a career in finance or in the startup evolution. Um, and really, success to me is like being those people in the life who made a difference in my life.
Mhm,
Um, it's your being, right? It's
mhm.
who your energy is right now. Are you right now being fun, energetic, kind, loving, or are you being something else, right? If you can successfully choose a being that is what you want and that it aligns with who you are, that's success.
Yep. And what is greatness to you?
when I was quickly when I was a kid, when I was in one foster home, I got jumped by my foster brothers. I remember writing in my journal, sobbing and crying. What do I want? What do I want? I want love. And then I realized I want to be like Harriet Tubman. I want to
Mm,
rise and not forget the people that were left behind. I want to constitute myself at a large level to help people rise from the place that I came from.
This has truly been a wonderful conversation with you today, Johnny. I'm glad that I met you. Glad that I got to have a conversation with you and to really have this discourse. I want to let you know, I've seen your journey today. I got a chance to look into your world, and I really respect your journey. I want to give you your crown today while you're still living, and appreciate the fact that you're working to give other people their crowns too. And Johnny, I want to let you know that in my eyes and in others, apparently, you, Johnny, are America's next motivator.
Thank you. I'm so honored. And
Yeah,
you're my brother. I love what
yeah,
you're doing. Thank
yeah.
you.
This is how we move the world forward, people. Thanks for stopping by, Johnny.
All right. Cheers.
All right,
Take
cheers.
care.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me calm down. If you replay this episode, you'll realize there were a lot of great things said today. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you got to do is stop by and pick it up.